Hello all you wonderful people, Baltmatrix here, and today we are taking a look at MakeToys Galaxy Meteor. I picked this figure up at TFCon 2017 from The Chosen Prime. We're going to start this video review off in vehicle mode because that is where I think this figure shines. The vehicle mode is simply wonderful and looks great and is a near perfect masterpiece level rendition of the Galaxy Force Starscream mold. Now, Galaxy Force is what the series was called in Japan, but we here in the West know it as Cybertron, or Transformers Cybertron. I actually like this form quite a bit and think it is probably my favorite rendition of Starscream, especially from the Unicron trilogy. I just really like this mode. It looks like a jet, it looks like it can fly, even though it doesn't look all that aerodynamic. The overall aesthetic is quite good, and it has wheels on the bottom, so it can even roll. I'm not kidding. There are wheels down here. 4 wheels. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just want to give you guys a nice, good, up-close look at the figure in this mode. It is incredibly well detailed. All the molding is fantastic, and there is even some posable aspects to it, which we'll get into in a second. And you can see the robot's head right there. The guns that are on either side of the canopy do rotate up and down, which the original Deluxe class or Voyager class figure did not have, and he actually, or the character actually, uses that in the show. The other thing that's posable are the wings on the side, and they are on double hinges, which I'll show you in a little bit later. So you can actually get a VTOL effect going with the figure, which is really cool. Never showed up in the show, but I think it's a good addition. They even molded in a Cyber Planet keyhole in the back. It doesn't connect to anything, it doesn't activate anything, but it's a nice touch. Galaxy Meteors Transformation is very similar to his original counterpart. To start off with, what we're going to do is first fold out the wings all the way. Now these are the double hinges that I was talking about. Technically, there are actually 3 points of articulation here. We'll cover that when we talk about the figure articulation as a whole. To start off with, come to the very front of the vehicle and just split the entire front of the vehicle apart and fold both sides all the way out like that. Now, the front of the vehicle does have a little bit of an issue, a little bit of a wobble, because these little tab holes peg in to these little tab bits right here. It does wobble a little bit, nothing major. So, to get the legs straightened out, first we're going to turn the entire upper thigh around at the swivel just below the ratchet, which is actually a little bit harder to do than you might think. Then turn the entire leg around, point it down, extend the leg out, grab the bottom leg and pull it just away from the knee and turn it 180 degrees until it pegs into place, and do that on the other side, like that. So just snap everything into place. And I realized I screwed up a little bit on this side. We want to turn it some more that way until it snaps into place. These little struts here that are on the front of the shins are supposed to be buttons that activate the rear of the legs. See how these gray parts are folded up? You have to push those, and finding the activation point is a little difficult, but as you see, it pops right up. And then we take care of the toes. Fold the foot out, flip out the heel, then take the toe tip and flip it up under the foot. Now this part of the transformation is a little bit weird. First we're going to come to the back, and these 2 blue pieces will fold all the way out and then down, and you just have to get them around those sections. And then those little bits that we were talking about that where the legs connect into, they will actually get pushed and folded up into the body. Then reach up to where the wheels are and fold the wheels forward until this section is pushed down a little bit, and then collapse the entire section, and these little peg holes will peg into these sections here. And just fold everything down and connect that whole section up. And the connection isn't exactly tight, but it works fine. Now we're going to get into transforming the arms, and this is actually really interesting because the hands are completely hidden away under these little thruster bits right here. So we will first pull them away from the little gray pieces, come under the back, and unpeg the blue section there, and then fold this whole section down, flip the fist out, and as we're rotating the arm down, we want to flip this door closed. So ratchet, ratchet, move everything out of the way, and then flip this big door closed. Ugh, come on. And snap it into place like that. And we'll do that on the other side. So 1, unpeg, 2, unpeg, fold down, kind of turn away from the figure as we ratchet everything down, flip out the fist, and then fold up the forearm. Then we can straighten the arms out, peg them into place, and get everything lined up. Next, for the back, we can open up the wings a little bit, take those gray thrusters and just fold them flat against the back, then fold the rear wing, tail wing down all the way. And then finally, we can come, grab the head, and pull it up until it snaps into place, and you pull the helmet off. That has to do with the changing of the face feature, which we'll get into in a little bit. The head actually has this piece of plastic right here sticking out from the torso. What you want to do is push it all the way up. So push it as far up as it'll go, and then when you fold the torso down, that piece of plastic will actually lock into this area right here where the tip of my finger is and prevent it from moving around. So once the head's all the way up, push it down, and now the head will not push down no matter what you do, because there's something blocking it. In the detail and looks department, this figure is absolutely lovely and is quite good. The overall aesthetic of the figure is really, really nice and is quite possibly the best rendition of this design I've ever seen. That's not to say that the figure is perfect. We'll point out some of the flaws that I've found here in a little bit. But just from the looks department, the figure is exquisite and typical MakeToys brilliance. The other thing MakeToys has done a fantastic job of is proportion. This figure feels like it is well proportioned and everything goes together. The head sculpt is also incredibly well done and has a lot of posability given its limited room of movement. The figure also comes with a really neat looking gun that slides in from the side into the palm. As you can see the little channel there, and there is an actual peg on the handle that once it's slid in, that thing, the gun, is going nowhere. Getting the gun slid into place is a little bit challenging since you have to turn the thumb pointing all the way towards the inside of the figure so that you could get the handle in here and slide it into place. But once in, as I said, it's not going anywhere. And while I do appreciate the addition of a gun, I actually don't think the figure needs one, because he's got 2 giant freaking cannons on the sides of his shoulders. The figure also comes with his own little Cyber Planet key. The thing actually doesn't do anything, it doesn't activate any gimmicks, but it's a nice little addition. Meteor comes with 2 different heads, or faces, so pull the head off, and then pop the face off, and you're left with, well, a stub, and then you just attach another face, and drop the helmet right back on, and you get a much nastier face. The other face that the figure comes with is a smirking face, which actually I like the best. I think this works for the character better than any of the other faces. Now let's get into the other feature of the figure. He has the titular swords that are supposed to pop out. So these are spring-loaded, and they pop out. They don't always work, though. That is my biggest complaint about the feature. So I'll sit here and I'll click and click and click, and they don't always pop out. Sometimes they have to be fully deployed, or the wet wings have to be fully extended like this for them to pop out. But you do get giant freaking swords that pop out of the sides of his wings, which are awesome. And then on top of that, they are on these double or triple hinged units that are on the sides of the shoulders. So you can get off some absolutely amazing attacks and just cool looks with this guy that I am completely incapable of showing you because I'm terrible at posing figures. But just that added little feature is a wonderful touch that MakeToys has added here. And speaking of articulation, we're going to start off with the shoulders. Shoulders ratchet out, in and out, and forwards and back on a swivel. Meteor can look up that much, can look down that much. Ratchet in the shoulder for minimal in and out movement, forward and back on a ratchet. Swivel at the upper arm, over 90-degree bend at the elbow. Fists do swivel, though they are very limited due to the armor on the top of the forearm. Thumb is on its own ball joint. Fingers are on Trigger finger is on its own ball joint. Bottom 3 fingers are on a single ball joint and hinge, so you can open and close the fist with no problems. Torso swivel, which has the cockpit getting in the way a little bit. Figure can kick forward that much. Can kick back that much. Can totally do the splits. Thigh ratchet. Over 90-degree bend at the knee. Foot moves forward and back on a ratchet. In and out on a hinge. Thanks to all those joints, you can get some wonderful poses. As always, I am terrible at posing figures, but this is the best I could come up with right now. One major issue, though, with these ratchets, especially in the legs, is they are a bit loose, especially the ratchets in the ankles. They're not exactly keyed correctly. And what I mean by that is they are either pointing a little bit too far up or a little bit too far down. They are not perfectly perpendicular to the legs when they are straight. So you do run into a little bit of a problem with the figure standing if you want to get a stock straight up and down pose. But for a dynamic pose, the figure is just fine. Overall, Galaxy Meteor is freaking awesome. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. I am super glad that this figure is getting a production run. Now, you might remember that there were some problems with the initial release in the fact that, well, it was canceled. They were going to completely cancel it, which would have been a shame as this figure is just so good. I'm really glad I went to TFCon, not just for picking up this figure, but for a bunch of other reasons. I picked this figure up at the Chosen Prime. It should be available on their web store very soon, so head on over there and get a pre-order in if you're interested in picking it up. So gang, what do you think of it? Let me know down in the comments. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video, give me a sub if you loved it, and as I always say, I'm Baltmatrix, and I will catch you next time.